Pollard that I have a superpower. Let me set the stage for you. I'm 20 years old, I'm an anatomy student, and I'm next in line to give a presentation on a very complicated article about how to grow cancer cells in a nude mouse. That's a mouse that's been bred to have no immune system, and as a side effect, it also has no hair. I have to give this presentation in front of 200 of my fellow students and a few profs, and I'm getting very nervous. The last presentation I did was probably show and tell in primary school. So my presentation is on acetate paper. I don't know if you guys remember those plastic sheets, seeing lots of nods, those plastic sheets where you had to use these special markers to write or draw on them, and then you place the sheet on this alien-looking projector. I worked for days and all night the night before my presentation, drawing charts and little nude mice getting injected with syringes full of radioactive things. I thought my slides were beautiful. So it's time for me to present. I stand in front of the lecture theater, I put my first acetate on the projector, turn it on, open my mouth to speak, and this abnormally huge spray of saliva exits my mouth and lands on the slide. I look behind me and I confirm, yes, everybody can see the hot mess that I just made. And loud enough for everybody to hear, I pronounce shit. And then the worst thing that could happen happens. All 200 of my peers and profs laughing their heads off. And in this moment, I'm realizing two things. My worst fear has just come true. And something pretty funny has just happened. And somehow after a few loud heartbeats and a deep breath, I decide I'm going to focus on the funny rather than the fear, laugh along with everybody else, and somehow I managed to finish my presentation. It was after that presentation that I realized that making the choice to own the moment rather than be paralyzed by it allowed me to make my first grown-up presentation. That's when I discovered that I had this capacity, this superpower for being comfortable when I'm very uncomfortable. So fast forward to today, I left anatomy behind and went into this career called organizational development. My superpower has come in really handy in this career, which, by the way, has nothing to do with body parts or naked mice. As an organizational development professional, I help people, leaders, teams, organizations deal with the many challenges that happen in the course of work life. Organizational changes, conflict, failure. My role is really to help people at all levels in an organization navigate those uncomfortable situations and realize their fullest potential in those circumstances. So my role has really been to help other people discover and strengthen their own superpowers for being comfortable with being uncomfortable. So what is discomfort? Amanda Lang put it really well in her book, The Beauty of Discomfort, when she said that most of us see discomfort as a temporary stage. Once we reach our goal, we can relax. Being comfortable is the goal. Most of us love comfort because of the feelings of safety and security it provides for us. You know, there's no stress or anxiety or risk in our comfort zones. But it turns out there's also no growth, no development, no creativity and innovation in our comfort zones. In fact, comfort can be really bad for us. I don't know about you, but inactivity feels really good, but it's really horrible for our bodies. And I wouldn't even get started on comfort foods, not so good. And our brains need challenge and problems to solve just to maintain our mental skills and our memory. So there is value in discomfort. But how do you tap into that value? How do you find the value in discomfort? Well, there's a subjective component to discomfort, which means what I mean to say is the way that we think and feel about the discomfort is going to make it better or worse, more manageable or completely unmanageable. So when I say be comfortable being uncomfortable, I'm not talking about denying that you feel uncomfortable or pretending that discomfort's not there. I'm talking about effectively managing the discomfort, changing your experience of discomfort so that it becomes something else. Maybe it becomes motivation towards a goal or for testing your limits, or becomes insight. You learn something about yourself and what's possible. So there's value in discomfort. The type of discomfort that I come across in the workplace that I help people with is working as part of a team. So having to rely on other people for your own success, maybe sharing some ideas on the team just to have them shot down. I think the biggest challenge about working as part of a team is trusting others to have your back. Charles Feltman has a great definition of trust: choosing to make something that's important to you vulnerable to the actions of someone else. I don't know about you, but for me and for most of us, that is the very definition of discomfort. A contributing factor to discomfort can often be how we view diversity on a team. I mean diversity of characteristics we're born with, like race, gender, sexual orientation, but also characteristics we acquire through our lives. So things like culture, professional background, thinking styles, decision-making styles. It turns out that working on managing this type of discomfort on teams, it's more than just good for morale. Diverse teams will outperform homogeneous teams, especially when it comes to knowledge work. There's a positive connection between diversity, discomfort, and performance. So why are diverse teams sometimes a little less comfortable to be on? Well, I know that it feels easy to feel like you belong to a team when everybody on that team looks like you, sounds like you, has had the same training as you, is the same age as you, likes the same stuff as you, likes the same shows. It's natural for us to gravitate towards people who are like us. It feels easy, communication's easy, it feels productive. But there's a danger in those feelings of ease that you experience working with a homogeneous team. It really can lead to groupthink. And groupthink is, one of the first stages before really bad decisions get made, and it can really kill innovation. On the other hand, working with people who are very different to ourselves can really challenge our feelings of belonging on a team. It can feel awkward, it can feel a little tense, maybe you feel like you're walking on eggshells around people a little bit. Maybe there's a bit of friction, maybe even a little bit of conflict. And that's going to feel counterproductive. But the diverse viewpoints that are on a diverse team, those are the resources for innovation, and can also serve as a kind of immunity to the bias that leads to groupthink. So, one of the number one team building requests that I get is to help teams sort of work through their differences, understand each other's differences, maybe build a bit of trust, and hopefully perform better as an outcome. My husband says, I'll never be out of work. But in my work with a variety of diverse teams at PHO and other places, the diverse teams that really have great quality performance and do innovative work, they translate that discomfort into great performance by doing a few things really successfully. The first thing is that they promote respect and inclusion of everybody on the team. The second thing is that they don't ignore differences. In fact, they seek out the different perspectives of their colleagues and open themselves up to seeing things from a different perspective, and because they know that ultimately it's going to improve the product or service that they're working on. And three, almost most importantly, is they do not shy away from uncomfortable conversations. They have the difficult conversations. And I've seen this in action. So many years ago, not as many as when I was 20, but a few years after that, I worked with a group of individuals, a team, that worked with clients with severe mental health issues. It was a team of very passionate men and women of diverse cultural and ethnic backgrounds. They had different educational backgrounds and professional training. They were at different ages and stages in their career. This team stormed a lot and very loudly. The thing is that they were all fierce advocates for their clients, but had very different ideas of how to meet those needs. It got so heated at one point that two of the most vocal and antagonistic people on the team simultaneously submitted formal complaints against each other. So the manager called me to come in and mediate. And I can assure you that everybody involved was deeply uncomfortable. The storming team members, the colleagues that had to put up with them, their manager, and frankly me. It was one of the first mediations I'd ever been asked to do formally. So what I did was I met with each of them individually and I asked them 3 questions. I asked them, what are you afraid of personally? What might the other person be afraid of, really? And most importantly, would you be willing to share those fears with the other person? And somehow, as a testament to the caliber of my clients, they agreed to be even more uncomfortable and participate in that meeting with me there to make sure that things didn't get out of hand. Now, I'd love to say that the 1-hour meeting that took place with the 3 of us was a heartwarming exchange of feelings and that we hugged at the end of it. And I would really love to say that I was masterful at guiding them towards mutual understanding and shared goals. But the reality is that it was a deeply uncomfortable, frustrating, and incredibly uncomfortable conversation. I actually remember walking out of that room thinking, I am not doing this again. They're never going to ask me to mediate anything again, ever. Weeks later, I heard that there had been a dramatic change between the dynamics of these 2 team members. So dramatic, the manager told me that they had shared a meal outside of work with their families. No one was more surprised than I was. But this is where I learned about another superpower. I went back and I asked one of the people involved, I asked her, what happened? We were both at that meeting. What happened? What changed? She told me that after she heard her colleague express his concerns about not being respected or accepted because of the educational background he brought to the table, she could never look at him the same way again. And she had noticed ever since that horrible meeting that he started listening to her differently, because she actually shared some very similar concerns during that awful meeting. It was their willingness to be vulnerable with each other that triggered their compassion for each other, which led to a little bit of building of trust and transformed the way that they worked together to serve their clients. So my clients taught me that vulnerability is a really important tool, not only for getting insight on ourselves, getting insight on other people, but it has the ability to transform a relationship or a situation into something else completely different. And over the years, I've worked with many awesome clients, many of you here today, and I've learned a number of other tools that I'm going to share with you very quickly. Being present. So taking stock of your thoughts, your feelings, your fears, as well as your strengths and the resources available at hand, will give you more perspective on the situation and give you the information that you need that you're going to have to take into account when making decisions later. Being present also prevents you from catastrophizing and making an already uncomfortable situation more uncomfortable. You think of it as building your situational awareness, having a really accurate view on what's happening so that you can tackle it appropriately. Reframe the discomfort. Changing the meaning of what the discomfort is, giving it a why or a purpose or a goal around the discomfort will hugely impact your ability to manage it. You can turn it into motivation, something to spur you on towards your goals. When you feel the pain, you know you're getting closer and it's getting good. Okay? It's where the magic is. And finally, my favorite, because I'm a control freak, take control. Just knowing that you have some choice or control over an uncomfortable situation psychologically is going to give you the resources you need to kind of use it for your learning and your growth. So I'm going to take you back to my 20-year-old self standing in front of a room of 200 laughing students. And just thinking in hindsight, knowing these 4 tools, did they come into play at all in that situation that helped me get through it? Well, I was certainly vulnerable. Anybody could see from the look on my face what was going on. I could have ignored the incident. I could have certainly left the room, never to be seen again. But I didn't. I stayed put, and I took it all in. I was present. I scanned the room, and I looked at all of those laughing faces, and honestly, I saw a bunch of mostly 20-year-olds who had been, or would soon be, in my position, presenting in front of their peers, hoping to God that they didn't look stupid. And I think that my little fumble kind of broke the ice, because I remember, beyond the feelings of horror, which I did feel, there was a little trickle of relief, my own relief and the relief of the people in the audience. And I was able to use that. I used that to help me reframe the laughter. I decided that they were laughing at the situation and not at me. Now, there were probably a few jokers in there who were laughing at my expense, but I decided that they were laughing at the situation. And this gave me the ability to make a choice. I chose funny over fear. And I managed to get through my presentation and learn about how to make it better later. So I just want to leave you with this. If discomfort can be a tool for our learning and our growth, perhaps a key to success and maybe even our happiness, maybe we need to do more than just learn how to manage it effectively, manage discomfort effectively. Maybe we need to, for the sake of our learning and development, intentionally seek out discomfort. Maybe we all need to take a deep breath and have the uncomfortable conversation. Maybe open ourselves up to people who are the most different to us. See the opportunity in uncertainty and take the stage. Thank you.